Mom, I'm done with your control. Try not to meet the Grizzlies too quickly. While camping in the wild forests of Montana, my daughter cold bloodedly left me without food or equipment and said bye. Go meet the mountain lion. She thought I would die of hunger or predator attacks so she could take my inheritance. But when she returned home, I was already waiting there with a smile on my face. I have a surprise for you, I said. You won't believe what happened next. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're listening in the comments. The front door exploded open without warning. Jessica stormed through, her jacket damp from the Portland drizzle, boots squeaking against my hardwood floor. Mom, I need 6,000 right now. I froze by my desk, receipt still in my hand from reviewing invoices. The aggressive edge in her voice hit me like a slap. This wasn't my daughter asking for help. This was someone making demands. Jessica, what $6,000 tonight? She paced across my living room, hands clenched into fists. I already transferred your monthly amount last week. The $4,000 barely covers my rent. Her voice cracked with frustration. You think that's enough? You think that covers everything? My wool sweater suddenly felt too tight. Paint still clung beneath my fingernails from working on Mrs. Thompson's kitchen renovation earlier. I'd built this interior design business from nothing. Worked 16-hour days after Robert died. Sacrificed everything to give her opportunities I never had. Daughter, we've talked about this. You need to find steady work. Work? Jessica spun around, her face flushed red. Why should I work when you're sitting on all this money? When you control everything like some dictator? The accusation stung. I straightened my shoulders, business posture kicking in. I'm trying to teach you responsibility. Responsibility? She laughed bitterly. You want to know about responsibility? After you die, I'll be an amazing master of your design business. I'll run it better than you ever did. The words hung in the air like poison. My chest tightened. The casual way she spoke about my death, the calculation behind her eyes. This wasn't grief or frustration talking. This was greed. I opened my mouth, but no sound came. And 22 years of single parenting, of sacrificing, of hoping she'd become the woman her father would have been proud of, all crumbled in that moment. Jessica must have seen the shock on my face. Her expression shifted, realizing she'd revealed too much. Without another word, she spun toward the door. The slam echoed through the house like a gunshot. The family photo on the mantel rattled, Robert's smiling face trembling behind the glass. I stood there, motionless, watching it slowly settle back into place. The silence pressed against my ears. Outside, Jessica's car engine roared to life and faded into the distance. 3 days later, Jessica called with artificial cheerfulness. Mom, I've been thinking. I was way out of line and I want to make it right. Let's go camping together in Montana. Glacier National Park. Just you and me, like when I was a kid, remember? The suggestion hit me like whiplash. Jessica hadn't shown interest in outdoor activities since middle school. My girlfriends canceled last minute, and I've got these reservations that are just going to waste. Everything's already paid for. The urgency felt manufactured, designed to prevent me from thinking too carefully. But underneath the suspicion lived a deeper pain. What if this was real? What if my daughter genuinely wanted to rebuild our relationship? All right, I heard myself say, let's do it. Really? That's fantastic. This is going to be amazing, Mom. You'll see. 4 days later, I folded legal documents carefully and slipped them into my travel bag's inner pocket. The papers felt heavier than they should have, weighted with possibilities I'd never wanted to consider. At Portland International, Jessica waited by the gate, bouncing like an overeager teenager. Her backpack looked brand new, tags still attached. During the flights to Montana, she chatted about wilderness photography, while consulting her phone constantly. At Mountain High Outfitters in Missoula, she insisted on specific items: high powered flashlights, emergency flares, rope, more than seemed necessary for basic camping. The clerk raised an eyebrow at our purchases. Planning to get lost out there? Highway 2 stretched before us through endless forest. Road signs warned about bear crossings and spring driving conditions. Yeah, really isolated. Jessica's voice carried strange satisfaction. Miles from anywhere. When we stopped for gas, I watched her make urgent phone calls, lying about weather conditions that I'd already checked myself. Park Ranger Michael Stevens briefed us with professional concern. Going to the Sun Backcountry route takes you 35 miles from the nearest ranger station. No cell coverage, no other campers this time of year. Recent black bear activity, mountain lion sightings, and elk are unpredictable during spring territory disputes. Jessica leaned forward, studying the isolated sections with intense focus. What about emergency evacuation? Helicopter rescue could be days if conditions turn bad. We'll be fine, Jessica interrupted. My mother's practically a survival expert. After hours of hiking, we made camp beside Logan Creek. Evening fell with Jessica, unusually quiet, staring into the flames. I shared stories from my Girl Scout days, encouraged by what seemed like genuine interest. How do you know when someone's lying to you? She asked suddenly. Body language, voice patterns, inconsistencies in their story. I'll take first watch, Jessica volunteered. I want to enjoy this. Listen to the forest sounds. I crawled into my tent, trusting my daughter. Through the nylon walls, I could hear her moving around the fire. But as sleep approached, something bothered me. The last thing I noticed was the change in sounds outside. No more casual movement, just careful stillness that suggested someone waiting rather than watching. Dawn light brought me to consciousness. Outside, I heard metallic clanking of equipment being loaded. Too early, too urgent for normal morning preparations. I stepped into frigid air to find Jessica methodically packing gear. Every piece of survival equipment, GPS device, emergency beacon, bear spray, food containers disappeared into the vehicle. What's going on? My voice cut through the morning silence. Getting ready to leave, we planned 4 more days. What's the rush? Change of plans? She avoided my eyes. Weather's turning bad. The lie hung between us like smoke. Yesterday's forecast had been clear. Jessica, talk to me. What's really happening here? Something snapped in her expression. Years of controlled resentment exploded across her features. You want to know what's happening? I'm done. Done with your control, your manipulation, your constant judgment. Daughter, I don't understand. Don't call me daughter. Daughters don't get treated like employees. Daughters don't have to beg for every dollar while their mother sits on millions. The venom in her voice hit me like physical blows. You made me dependent, kept me weak, controlled every aspect of my life with your checkbook. Well, guess what? I'm taking control now. The camping trip. This whole thing was planned, finally catching on. Business genius. Her laugh carried no warmth. Why, Jessica? If you needed money, we could have worked something out. I don't want your allowance anymore, Mom. I want what's mine by right. Your business, your assets, everything you've been dangling over my head for decades. You're planning to leave me here. Very good. Yes, I'm leaving you here to figure things out for yourself. Maybe 35 miles of wilderness will teach you what real dependence feels like. My chest constricted. Jessica, this is predator country without equipment, without GPS. Should have thought about that before you made me into your puppet. She slammed the truck's tailgate shut. Maybe you'll survive. Maybe you won't. Either way, I'll inherit what should have been mine years ago. Please, whatever I did wrong, we can fix it. Don't do this. For a moment, something flickered across her features. Then her expression hardened. Goodbye, Mom. She climbed into the driver's seat. Try not to meet the mountain lions too quickly. I want you to have time to think about what you created. The engine roared to life. Through the windshield, I saw her face, cold, calculated, devoid of any filial emotion. Jessica. My shout echoed off distant mountains as the truck disappeared. The silence that followed was absolute. My daughter had just sentenced me to death. Business training kicked in, overriding emotional devastation. Shock was a luxury I couldn't afford, not 35 miles from civilization in predator country. First rule of survival: assess your resources: wallet, house keys, a small Swiss Army knife, no food, no water, no GPS. Second rule: evaluate the environment. April in Montana meant freezing nights, dense forests, complete isolation. Third rule: prioritize survival needs. Movement was critical, standing still meant death. I began walking west, following faint tire tracks. Game trails usually led to water sources. Every step required conscious effort. At 55, my civilian conditioning was worlds away from my Girl Scout peak. But anger fueled my movement, fury at Jessica's betrayal, at my own blindness, at the years I'd wasted enabling her transformation. Hours passed. My mouth grew parched. The trail meandered through dense vegetation. Bear sign appeared everywhere. Claw marks on trees, massive paw prints, disturbingly fresh scat. I made noise while walking, remembering the ranger's instructions about avoiding surprise encounters. A distant sound made me freeze. Mechanical, rhythmic engines, multiple engines, ATVs or dirt bikes moving in formation. Hope surged through my chest for the first time since Jessica's betrayal. I changed direction, pushing through undergrowth toward the mechanical sounds. Breaking through the tree line, I stumbled into a clearing where 3 ATV riders had stopped for lunch. They looked up in shock as I emerged, disheveled and desperate. Ma'am, what happened? Why are you out here alone? The lead rider, a graying woman with weathered features, approached with professional concern. My daughter, she left me here, took all our equipment, and drove away. Someone abandoned you here? That's attempted murder. I'm Susan Reed, former park ranger. The other riders gathered around, their faces showing horror at deliberate wilderness abandonment. How long ago did this happen? This morning, maybe 5 hours ago. We need to get you out immediately. If your daughter took the main road out, she's looking at a 7-hour drive to reach Missoula. But I know a shortcut, Old Ranger Trail. We can have you back to the park entrance in 2 hours. You mean I could get back before her? Easily. The question is, do you want to involve law enforcement immediately, or do you have other plans, something hard crystallized in my chest? Jessica had calculated my death, planned my abandonment, counted on my helplessness. She'd underestimated the wilderness community's solidarity and my own survival instincts. I want to get back to the lodge first before I decide anything about police. Susan nodded, understanding passing between us. Climb on behind me. Your daughter will never see us coming. The ATV ride through hidden forest paths revealed emergency access trails known only to rangers and backcountry guides. Susan navigated with years of experience. I spent 18 years as a ranger here. Seen a lot of stupid decisions, but deliberate abandonment. That's criminal territory. Glacier Lodge appeared in the distance. As we approached, I scanned for our rental truck, not yet returned. Looks like your daughter's still driving back. You've got time to prepare whatever reception you're planning. The other riders offered contact information as witnesses. Susan handed me her card. Call me when you're ready to talk to authorities. What your daughter did, there need to be consequences. Back in our lodge room, I pulled out my phone and the legal documents I'd prepared in Portland. 4 weeks ago, I'd changed my will in maternal disappointment. Now that decision looked prophetic. Jessica would inherit nothing. Everything would go to environmental charities and a scholarship fund in Robert's name. I called Susan. When Jessica returns, I want everything documented. Her reaction, her words, everything. You planning to confront her before calling police? I'm planning to give her exactly what she thought she wanted, right up until she realizes what she's actually done to herself. That evening, I arranged the room methodically. Legal documents spread across the desk where Jessica would see them immediately. Susan's recording equipment set up in the adjacent room. My phone programmed with 911 on speed dial. Military precision, eliminating variables. At 9:15, headlights swept across the parking lot. Jessica's key scraped the lock before catching. When the door opened, she stepped inside, expecting to find an empty room. The overhead light illuminated her face, and I watched recognition hit her like a physical blow. Mom, the word came out strangled. Hello, daughter. How was your drive? Her face cycled through confusion, shock, and terror. How are you here? How did you get back? Turns out I'm harder to kill than you calculated. I don't understand. I left you 35 miles, 30 miles from nowhere without food, water, or equipment. Yes, I remember. Interesting choice of last words. Go meet the mountain lions. Really captured the sentiment beautifully. The problem with your plan, I continued, is that you underestimated the wilderness community. Turns out there are people who actually help each other survive instead of abandoning family members to die. I walked to the desk and picked up the legal documents. You want to know what's fascinating? 4 weeks ago, I changed my will. What do you mean changed? I mean, you inherit nothing. Not the business, not the bank accounts, not the house your father loved. Everything goes to charity. The color drained from her face completely. You can't do that. I'm your daughter. You were my daughter. This morning, you became something else entirely. The will was filed this afternoon. It's done. But you're wrong about one thing. I didn't create your willingness to commit murder. That choice was entirely yours. Where are you going? To call the police. Attempted murder is still a felony, even when it fails. The last thing I saw before stepping outside was my daughter collapsing into the chair, staring at the legal documents that represented the complete destruction of everything she tried to gain through my death. At the Missoula Police Department, Detective Martinez reviewed the overwhelming evidence. Your daughter's statements are remarkably incriminating. The district attorney will file charges this morning. Attempted murder in the first degree, reckless endangerment, conspiracy to commit fraud. Alaska doesn't treat wilderness abandonment lightly. Through the window, I could see Jessica in handcuffs being processed. Overnight in jail had stripped away her last pretenses. What's the likely sentence? 15 to 25 years. Montana views deliberate wilderness abandonment as attempted murder because that's exactly what it is. 3 days later, back in Portland, I received a letter from Jessica in jail. 5 pages of manipulation disguised as apology, promising change if I just reconsidered the inheritance. I read it once, then fed it through my office shredder. Some relationships don't survive attempted murder, no matter how much money you've invested in them. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.